Shall we begin?
Why not? Welcome to Frankie Sense and More. It's like she's got a whole lot of goodness for you with a little bit of sass.
Frankie, did you just say...
She sure did. Not to mention, along with...
Whoops.
Join us now as Frankie Picasso and her new co-host mix it up with authors, musicians, and interviews with world-changing people.
Let's begin now.
Okay, let's begin now, because it only makes sense.
And good morning and welcome to Frankie Sense and More. We have an action-packed show for you today, and I do want to get to it right away. But there's always a but. Before I do, for those of you who are new to Frankie Sense, I want to extend to you a warm welcome. And to those of you who are returning, it's always a blessing and a privilege to hang out with you. I want to give a shout out to Arlie. Most of you know Arlie. He's a frequent co-host of mine, and he's sick in bed today, and he really wanted to be here with us. So please, I know that he's listening. Please send him some healing energy. He's such an amazing human being, and I am really happy to be able to live in a world where he is in it. As many of you know, this show is also aligned with the United Nations Global Goals Initiative, and today's global goals falls under goal number 16, peace and justice. Today, I want to chat for a moment about how you can help change the world quickly, efficiently, and effectively. Through organizations like Amnesty International, CARE, and Avaz, which is currently pressuring the United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon to intervene on behalf of the starving people in Madaya, Syria. If you weren't aware, this besieged town of Madaya, their children are starving. They're eating leaves, cats, and insects. The Assad regime is literally starving over 40,000 people to death. It's hard to imagine the suffering of parents watching their kids die from hunger, but we have a way to help them. A truce to lift the siege on Madaya and other cities was brokered in September, but the civilians are still trapped inside without food and medicine. Aid convoys are entering the town right now. It's right there for them, and all we need is a chance to get that siege lifted, and we're hoping that the United Nations Secretary General will do that. How can you help? Sign the petition. They're looking for 1 million signatures, and if you don't think it helps, think again. So many prisoners have been released due to pressure from governments, from people just like you and I. I'm putting the URL on the Frankie Sense page and articles after the show on toginet.com, so please click there and help save some lives. Yay! Today, I have some very special guests. We have Heather Crosse, who will be joining us, and William Stillman, who I will introduce in a moment. Also joining us today are some of my good friends, Connie Whitman, Sandra Beck, Olivia Oriente, and Heather will also be receiving a reading today. Bill's going to do readings. I don't want to say too much about them, but together we're going to experience this amazing spiritual event. Yes. Okay. William Stillman. We'll talk about Bill first. He is a psychic medium and an internationally known award-winning author of Autism and the God Connection book trilogy that explores aspects of spiritual giftedness in many people with autism. These books encompass Autism and the God Connection, The Soul of Autism, and Autism Prophecies. In fact, I've interviewed Will in this capacity no less than 3 times and dubbed him the Autism Whisperer. But now he's back in a new capacity, and he has 2 new books coming out. One just came out, Conversations with a Dog. A psychic reveals what our canine companions have to say and how you can talk to them too, yes. And his latest book, Under Spiritual Siege, about spiritual warfare with negative energies. Can't wait to read that. Is going to be published May 2016. Since 2004, Bill has worked professionally as a psychic and spiritual counselor at the Alta View Wellness Center in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And his accuracy in discerning the truth and making predictions have come to fruition. And I can tell you that because he gave me a reading and I was blown away. He's consulted on missing persons, unsolved homicide cases. He's been a guest speaker for Lilydale. If you haven't been there, it's an amazing spiritualist community, the oldest in New York State, I should say. And he also volunteers his time as an investigative resource to the Pennsylvania Paranormal Association. Wow. He's been on the show Coast to Coast, a huge hit. And he was interviewed on the web series Char Vision by internationally renowned psychic medium Char Margalis, who called Stillman really fascinating. And of course, he's been a popular YouTube series, Sweet Work and Life. So let's give a warm welcome to Bill. Hi, Bill. How are you?
Hey, Frankie. Thanks so much for having me on your program, and hello to everyone listening.
That's I'm just so happy that you're here. Now, one of the things that people don't know about you is that you also have Asperger's. And you believe, I think, that it has helped you open this spiritual connection. Is that true?
Well, I think that, first of all, I need to say that we all have spiritual gifts and talents. I'm nothing special in that department. However, I think probably being on the autism spectrum gives me an added advantage for two reasons. First, I naturally think in constant streams of visual imagery, pictures, movies, phrases, and this is how spirit communicates to me as well. And so the average person typically doesn't think in terms of purely visuals like I do. So that may have given me a bit of an edge. The other thing is that also being on the autism spectrum, all of my senses, my nervous system, my senses and emotions are buzzing and vibrating in a much higher frequency than the typical person. So it's sort of a magnification of all of the senses. I call it my spidey sense.
Yeah.
And so that probably predisposes me to the other ways in which spirit communicates with me, which is they'll make me feel things, they'll make me smell and taste things also.
That's really interesting. I know that when I interviewed you before with autism and, dealing with the autism and the children with autism that couldn't speak, that parents were, really struggling to deal with, that you were able to speak to them psychically and really help them with that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting also because we're talking about people oftentimes from a spiritual perspective for whom being in human form does not come very naturally. Mm-hmm. And so they have a foot in both worlds. They have a foot in the spirit world and they have a foot in the human world. And oftentimes, especially those folks who don't speak, as you said, they communicate in spiritual ways. They communicate through iconography. They communicate in ways that are very symbolic. Such that on the surface it appears to be simplistic when in fact the communication has a more complex meaning to it.
And animals speak in that same way. They speak in pictures too, right?
I believe so, and at least that's been my personal experience, yeah. For example, a dog, on more than one occasion, I've had dogs that knew they were preparing to transition prior to anyone else knowing they had something terminal, and they show me a slowly setting sun in a gorgeous sky that's red and orange and pink. Oh,
wow. That's really interesting. I'm going to slightly introduce, Connie's here now, and Sarah, sorry. I'm so sorry, Sandra. Sandra's here now. Anytime you guys want to ask Bill a question, I want you to feel free to do that. Just, say, hey, cool. Frankie, I want to ask him a question.
Can I just say, hey, Frankie, for a medium, Bill, you have a rockin' personality.
Oh, aren't you sweet? Oh.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm actually coming into the call feeling a little upset because I was getting teary when Frankie was talking about the situation in Syria. I can't watch the news. It's just,
I know.
I just can't bear it. I saw one story about the plight of those poor people, and it affected me too much.
It is. It's pretty horrific. Yeah. But, it's like people who rescue animals and people who everybody. Oh, I can't watch. I can't do it. But somebody's got to do it. So if it's just a matter of clicking on a website and going, yes, I'm going to add my name to this petition, it's worth it.
You bet.
And I get it. I know that. Oh, geez. Oh, it'll come back to me. I can't remember his name. But he said, if you don't watch the news, don't watch things that are negative if you can't change things. And I agree with that. Yeah, totally.
So, hey, Frankie, before we do any questions from folks, would you mind terribly if I said my usual prayer just to make sure?
I was going to ask you to. That's why I wanted to make sure everybody got their questions out of the way so that you could start with your prayer and set the tone.
Oh, thank you so much for being so gracious about it, because I want to make sure we're all really well protected. I think that there are people who have aspirations to dabble in this field who go about it improperly, and it's like using a Ouija board. And boy, if you don't ground yourself, and if you're not connected to an authentic source, you're leaving yourself wide open for stuff to swoop in and masquerade as something it's not. And I've seen it. In fact, just within the past 24 hours, I've had three calls to investigate haunting situations that are pretty intense and involved. So I think it's terribly important that we say our prayer of protection.
You know what? We've got about 3 minutes to break, and so I don't want to start into, the prayer and the reading and break that.
Yeah, I agree with you.
How do you feel about it? Yeah?
No, I concur completely, yeah.
Okay, so why don't we talk about, I don't know, Connie or Sandra, if you have any questions, but maybe,
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Frankie, I was going to ask Bill. I have a cousin, and she has a son who is autistic. And you mentioned that you can speak to autistic kids through imagery and I guess visions, et cetera. I think that's remarkable and extremely cool, and I have no idea if my cousin even knows that this exists or that people like yourself are out there to help with the communication process. How do you do that? I guess that's my question.
Well, I think that anyone can do it, and so the next time you communicate with is it your nephew?
My cousin's little boy.
Oh, your cousin's little boy. The next time you communicate with him, don't say anything, but instead think it. Feel it emotionally, but also try to pair the emotion with an image of some sort. I think he'll be completely tickled and delighted by it. And I'd be willing to bet that you'll get a reaction and a response.
Very cool. Okay, thank you for that.
And I would encourage you to have, they have a dog?
I think they do, yes.
I'm being told yes. So I would encourage you to make it something to do with the dog.
Okay, very cool.
Neat, cool.
Thank you.
Sandra, you have a quick question, I think.
Yes, just really quickly, Bill. When you were a little boy, did you have these abilities already, or did some sort of trauma bring them on? I'm just curious, and did it spook you as a kid?
Yeah, well, again, everyone has these abilities. I was just an intensely sensitive little fella, and I just was sobbing in a church pew when I was 5 years old, and I never told anybody what that was about. I was staring at the stained glass window of the crucifixion, so I was an empath from the word go.
Oh, Bill, I'm so sorry. It's such a wonderful story.
Okay.
I got to cut you off. We have to go to commercial.
No worries. We'll pick up.
Thank you so much. Stick around, stay tuned, stay close. We don't want you to miss 1 second of this. Okay.
Frankie Sense and More will be right back after we pay the bills.
Listen, something is brewing. The beautiful business evolution is coming. The way we do business is about to change for the better, forever. This is real business at its very best. On Beautiful Business Radio, you will learn what it means to truly prosper, how to nourish yourself and your business, how to earn what you deserve and make a difference in the world. The tide is rising, the change is here. Discover a new way to live, love, and partner with yourself and your business on Philippa Rowlands Presents Beautiful Business Radio, where you matter and your business thrives, every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, only here on the Woohoo Radio Network.
Darling, what is going on?
Whatever do you mean, dear?
Why have you taken me to our special place to eat?
Sweetheart, I took you to El Charro on the Ridge tonight because I know you love it, and I wanted this meal to be the very best.
Oh, honey, those fajitas smell divine.
I know, my dear. Everything about El Charro on the Ridge is wonderful, just like everything about you.
Oh, my sweet, sweet man.
I can't stand it any longer. Let's take our love of El Charro food and each other to the next level. Marry me, darling.
Baby, you don't know how long I've waited for you to ask. Of course I'll marry you. As long as you promise to take me to El Charro's on the Ridge on Old Jacksonville Highway by Brookshire's Fresh. Anytime I want. I'll be yours forever.
I know you're still there. I do. We left Bill sitting in a church pew at 5 years old. Maybe you can finish that story and then we'll go into a prayer.
Yes, thank you, Frankie. Well, I was just telling Sandra about being just intensely, exquisitely sensitive, going back to the time I was a little boy and sitting in a church pew sobbing and not being able to contain my emotion. And my parents finally picked me up and we just left. And I never told anyone what that was about, but I was staring at the glorious, terrible stained glass window of the crucifixion, and I was grieving for the pain that Christ must have endured. But then, as I was growing and maturing and entering into adolescence, because I was very different and because I was socially disconnected from my peers, I became the object of ridicule, and I was verbally abused and physically harassed, and my speech was publicly mocked and mimicked on a virtually daily basis for about 7 to 8 years. And so I descended into a very dark period, and unfortunately, without a support system, I began reflecting back what other people were projecting upon me. And so I became very cold and hard and cynical and ugly, and that is when I began to attract dark things to me and became very interested in dark things. And so I sort of came into a rebirth, probably when I was in my late 30s, early 40s, when I made a conscious decision to invest time and energy into becoming an improved version of my old self and shedding a facade that was no longer of service and was certainly not authentic. Wow.
That's, well, we're going to talk about dark energies later. Let's start. Let's go into a prayer. Let's protect ourselves, ground ourselves from the negative energies. We don't want anybody coming home with us or anything like that.
Thank you, Frankie. Heavenly Father, author of the universe and creator of all that is seen and unseen, we are most grateful, blessed, and privileged to be united in your presence this afternoon. Kindly grant that we might be of good and great service to one another, so that we in turn might render good and great service to others through the grace of all that we have been, all that we are presently, and all that we are becoming. Amen.
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 Thank you. Lovely. All right, we're all set.
Okay, let's start with Connie.
Okie dokie.
Connie, do you have a specific question for me? That's going to work best, I think.
I actually don't. Tell me what type of question or what realm of information, and then I'll formulate a question from there. How's that?
Okay. It can be about any aspect of your life about which you are wondering, your health, relationships, employment. But I can tell you that it feels as though you've been through some tough times health-wise, or someone close to you has been through some tough times health-wise, but that you have risen to the occasion with grace and humility. It's made you stronger, and that you are a faithful and loyal friend to all who know you.
Well, that's definitely true. Yes. This is a big transition year for my business, my career. I've had opportunities really come into my path very recently. Can you tell me anything about that?
Connie, I'm picking up the energy of a father figure. So I don't know if this is father or grandfather. I'm smelling smoke, so I don't know if this is someone who
my
would
grandfather.
Grandfather, thank you.
Yeah.
And he is a spiritual cheerleader and a spiritual guardian for you. And he also has some business acumen, if that makes sense to you.
Okay.
Based on what you know to be true about him, can you validate that?
He was a laborer his whole life, during the Depression and everything. I'll tell you,
so
he would have a brilliant man.
Thank you. He would have known how to stretch a dime.
Oh, gotcha.
Yes, thank you. So he is your cheerleader and your guardian, particularly around smart business decisions that are going to yield finances to work in your best interest. And yet he has also mellowed quite a bit in the spiritual realm, and he wants you to blend your success with the opportunity to serve others in ways that are altruistic and charitable.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Wonderful. So onward and upward, and I want you to focus on fulfilling a purpose. I want to redirect your attention away from the financial aspect in terms of worries or concerns about the finances. Focus on the work. Money is a man-made concept, not a spiritual concept. The rest will fall into place. And feel free to call upon that grandfather energy. You're going to smell his smoke in the car while you're driving.
Okay, that's awesome.
Have you ever smelt it before?
No, but it's interesting, Bill. My younger sister, was extremely close to my grandfather. They lived upstairs. We lived in the downstairs apartment in the house, and two-family house. And after we moved and after my grandfather passed away, to this day, my sister is now 52 years old. When she's at a crossroad, has a big decision, is in distress in some way, she'll go to bed and read and think, I wonder what I should do, kind of contemplate the situation. And she said a lot of times she smells the smoke and know it's my grandfather guiding her. I have never had that experience, but I know she does.
Okay. Well, be aware that it's coming for you.
Cool.
God bless.
Love it. Thank you so much, Bill. That's lovely.
My privilege.
Connie, feel free to stick around if you like.
Oh, gosh, yes.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Well, one of our guests, Heather, we're still trying to find Heather, unfortunately. But let's turn our attention over to Sandra.
Oh, I was hoping you would choose me. I'm so excited, Bill. I'm so excited.
Sandra, I must, I'm sorry, sometimes Spirit makes me feel very impulsive because it's like having an entire Super Bowl stadium full of energies calling to me at such a high frequency. And if I may, before you ask your question, just jump right in to tell you that you are absolutely doing what you are.
Wow.
You are exactly where you are supposed to be, doing what you are supposed to be doing. You are a role model and an effective and efficient and compassionate communicator to many, I'm being told to tell you.
That is very true.
Yeah.
I'm writing it down. Just do your thing, Bill. I'm all ears.
The show's recorded.
I don't know if you're a mom, but it feels as though you have many children around you, but they're not all yours.
I do. I collect them.
Yeah. And you're a wonderful storyteller, and you've got a great sense of ingenuity as it pertains to inspiring young people and motivating them. You've got a great eye for talent and for nurturing and cultivating talent.
Awesome.
And I'm smelling the scent of roses connected to a mother figure that has passed on before you.
Oh my God, yes, that is my mom.
Yeah. Please know that she connects with the essence of your maternal aspirations and the manner in which you are shepherding many young people into finding their way on the path. That's what I'm intended to tell you.
That is perfect.
And who played the piano? I'm being shown a keyboard.
Oh, my Uncle Mark was concertmaster at Juilliard.
And was this mother's brother?
Well, I don't know because we don't know much about my mom's family, but we do. I come from a musical family.
Okay, because I'm being shown you showing very young children the joys of music on a keyboard.
Okay.
Okay. So now I'll give you the chance to ask a question.
Okay. Well, that's good because everything I do is backwards, but it turns out grand. So we're in the right frame of mind.
Well, there's a method to your madness, I think.
Yes, thank you.
So you may not be the most highly organized person, but it all works itself out in the end.
Amen to that. That's it exactly. I feel, Bill, these, I don't know if you call them, I call them my angels, but I have angels and guides and I feel them. They're around me. There's like a big group of them. And even my little son who's 9, when he was small, he'd say, Mommy, you have your angels. And one of the angels is Rose. And, I feel this group around me. It's a little crowded at times. Can you tell me about, I call them my spirit team. Can you tell me either who's on my spirit team or who's coming forward, just to give me an idea that I'm not crazy?
Yeah. I rarely see angels, and I don't know that they're around us on a routine basis. When I see them, to me, they appear as enormous columns of golden light. I do see guides more frequently, and I suspect the team to which you are referring, and I call them my team also, is really spirit guides. And I got to tell you, it feels like a lot of male energy is around you, and it feels as though there are about 3 males that I'm perceiving. One is named Anthony, and it shows as though you're percolating a new business venture of some sort. He's the one to help to push it through.
Okay.
If that makes sense to you.
Yep.
Perfect. So you want to engage him in the context of a prayer, and then grant him permission to come forward to collaborate with you around the, I'm being told the phrase, philosophical foundation of moving the project forward.
Got it.
You understand? So he will impress inspiration within you. He will direct your attention to the proper people and the opportunities as they manifest for you to continue moving forward. They're also showing me the phrase charitable cause connected to you, Sandra, as well. Yeah,
everything I do has to have, everybody I work with, everybody I coach, they must have a charitable component to anything they create.
Beautiful. Keep that piece moving forward. It shows itself to me as this gorgeous, crystal clear river running, and it's running upstream, not downstream.
I do. I pick those battles.
Yes. You may find yourself as the little minnow among sharks, but you will continue, or barracudas, I'm being told, but you will continue to persevere if you set your intentions altruistically and they are heart-based. And Anthony, he shows himself actually in a Greek toga, which is interesting to me.
I love that. I'm so sorry. We're going to have to go to a break in just a few seconds.
No worries.
We'll come, if you can, keep and come back to Sandra after. We'll talk about the other 2 that she sees around her, the other male energy. Thank you so much. Stay around, everybody. We're coming right back.
Warmed up. Frankie Sense and More will be right back after we pay the bills.
Information about book publishing is power. The power to change your authoring life. And the power to change the lives of your readers. So join us for Your Guide to Book Publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. Thursdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific. You'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now. As the book shepherd, Dr. Judith Briles is in. And each week, she will include publishing professionals that will reveal tips and secrets to the author's journey. If there is a book in you want to listen, learn, and yes, call in with your questions each week. For more on Judith and what she can do for you, check out her website, thebookshepherd.com. It's your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know, but didn't know what to ask. Brought to you by Author You and The Book Shepherd, with your host, Dr. Judith Briles. Thursday evenings at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific.
I recently bought my husband a metal detector as a present. Okay, I admitted it was one of those gifts you give a family member because you really want one yourself. Alexander Graham Bell invented the first metal detector and tried to use it to find the fatal bullet that killed President James Garfield. The modern metal detector was first widely distributed in the 1960s and was originally used by the military to find landmines. When my husband and I tried our hand at dirt fishing near our cabin in Colorado, we found some can slaw, or the shredded remains of tin cans, an old coffee pot, and a heavy metal stove made in the 1900s. Now, what on earth was a giant stove doing buried among the snippers and snappers?
It's words you never heard.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and Words You Never Heard has been brought to you by the Bariatric Surgery Center of Dallas.
And we're back, and thank you for sticking around. Bill's here with Sandra. We're here with Olivia. We've got Karina producing the show. Everybody's here. The whole gang's here. Bill, you were talking to Sandra about her angels, or her group of guides who are hanging around her. We found out about Anthony, who is directing her new projects. Is it?
Yes.
And she feels a rose around her, which might be her mom. Who else was there?
Well, I wasn't picking up anyone else specifically, other than I felt quite a bit of male energy. Your mom was Rose, Sandra?
My grandma was Grandma Rose.
Grandma. Okay. Because that would be different from a guide. A spirit guide is assigned to us, and we have more than one oftentimes, but some will step forward to help us push through specific projects or specific visions. So I wasn't really picking up too much else, other than it felt as though Anthony was stepping forward because he was your point person around this next venture.
Nice.
Excellent. And then, is there anybody else there that wants to give me a message? I'm all yours.
Yeah, not that I was picking up for you.
Okay.
At this time. I'm also being told to tell you to keep a journal or a pad of paper and a pen on your nightstand, because you're going to start getting information relevant to your mission infused in your dreams.
Okay.
And so you'll want to jot things down. You're going to be awakened between 2 and 3 a.m., and you're going to want to jot things down.
Okay.
So that you don't forget them.
Got it.
Perfect.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill.
Don't go anywhere, Sandra.
Nope, I'm not. Are you kidding? I'm glued to the
Sandra,
microphone.
Also pay attention to the bright red cardinal as a spiritual symbol or a spiritual indicator that you are on the right path.
So a bright red cardinal, because I have always seen blue things, but we're going to look for red?
Yeah.
That's my mom's favorite bird, by the way, just so you know.
That's very interesting to me. Very interesting to me. And it doesn't have to be a living creature either. It can be on a greeting card. It can be a figurine that you see in a gift shop. But anything having to do with a bright red cardinal.
Got it.
That's awesome. You're so good.
He is so good. I'm just sitting here in awe, because I have this little test, and I'm going to share it with the audience. Whenever I know that I'm going to be able to talk to a medium or a psychic, I ask my mom to send me flowers. And if the psychic mentions flowers at any point, I know my mom is present. And Bill, I know it's awful to test you guys, but there's so many people out there that make claims. And so to have this little test just gives me such peace of mind.
Yeah. But I don't think flowers came through when I was reading you.
Yeah, you said
rose.
No, for Frankie.
Oh, for me?
Yeah.
That was Sandra.
For Sandra. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I didn't test you.
No. Well, Frankie.
Sorry.
I think Frankie had a grandfather that came through.
I did.
He was showing me Abraham Lincoln, which really perplexed me. And then Frankie said,
his name's Abraham. It was freaky, because it wasn't a grandfather that I knew well, or somebody that I really, was attached to. And so it was so odd for me to have him come through and give me that message.
You have to expect the unexpected with me. I know that oftentimes people come to a psychic or a medium or an event that over which a psychic presides, and they have very specific agendas. Mm-hmm. And for me, you've got to expect the unexpected, because I'm most likely not going to connect with your mom. I'm going to connect with the abusive alcoholic uncle that touched you inappropriately when you were 11.
Jeez.
I mean, that's who I'm going to get, because I'm all about trying to make amends and repairing damaged relationships wherever possible.
That's awesome. Well, if that's it for Sandra, meet Olivia.
Hello?
Hi, Liv.
Hi.
Hi, Olivia.
Hi, how are you doing?
Great. Now, you're Sandra's daughter, is that correct?
No, Olivia, Frankie's daughter.
Frankie's daughter.
Oh, Frankie's daughter. Ah, okay.
Yes.
Do you have a question that I can answer for you?
Well, I'm in California right now, and I really want to stay here. And I'm wondering if what would be the best move for me to stay in California or to stay in Toronto? Where is there more, options and things along that line?
It shows as though you're going to continue to remain in California for at least another 6 months, it shows me. And it also shows as though, I don't know if you're currently in a relationship. I suspect that your work is more important to you. But it shows as though, as a byproduct of some business venture, there may be some kind of romantic chemistry between you and another party as a byproduct of entering into this project that's connected to what it is that you do.
Okay. I don't really know what to say to that.
Okay. Well, what's interesting is that oftentimes things that I predict for people that they are really not certain about or they even dismiss come to fruition. So I'm going to suggest that you write it down so that you remember it and see what comes of it.
Yeah, she's at the airport right now coming home. Yeah. Yeah, that's okay. You have people here too.
Sorry?
I said there are people here too.
No, I know. You guys are breaking up.
Are we? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. What about anybody from Spirit have a message for Liv?
I don't. I'm not picking up anything like that for Olivia. Sorry.
All right,
See,
Liv.
and if I were not authentic, I'd bluff it, but I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And you know what? I think because, Olivia, there's just so much other energies around you right now, you're highly distracted.
Mm-hmm. No, I am highly distracted right now.
You're nervous.
There's a lot going on.
She's nervous about flying home.
Too much stuff going on. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you.
You're welcome, honey. Take care.
Okay. I'll
see you soon.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Yeah, she wants to stay in California, but she has to come home for a little bit anyway. We'll see what happens.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. Karina, where are we? I just want to find out where we are in the show and see where we're going to go.
I have a question while you guys are figuring that out. Bill, this is Sandra. When you get information, do you ever get unwanted information? Like you're sitting there with your friends or your, loved ones and Spirit comes in and wants to tell you something and it's negative. Do you ever have that? And if so, what do you do with that information? It's got to be a big burden.
That's a really good question. And I think that there's a great misperception about people who are actively psychic that suggest we're turned on 24/7. And we're not. Prior to coming on the program, I entered into a deliberate state of solitude in which I spent some time in prayer and meditation in order to open up that channel. I think that there are certain television programs that have given the misperception that someone who's psychic is constantly turned on and they're tooting around town and they happen to start picking up things about the person at the counter at the dry cleaner. And that's really, I think, a misnomer and a misconception about how we operate. Now, that's not to suggest that sometimes things haven't come through in ways that are spontaneous, but because I aspire to attract what I'm projecting, the vast majority of the time, Sandra, it is information that's for the greater good.
So the idea that you're just wandering around and getting all this stuff bombarding you and you're compelled to have to tell somebody is more for television or maybe just for that specific. Well, I was trying not to say that.
Well, I was trying not to say that also. Yes.
I said it. It's Frankie sense. I can say whatever I want.
Yeah, it has happened, but boy, you've got to be so cautious and so respectful, especially if you're talking about feeling as though you're picking up on someone's loved one in spirit, because first of all, not everybody welcomes that.
Right.
Not everybody wants that foisted upon them. And secondly, you could always be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You could always be totally and completely wrong.
Yeah, and if it's unsolicited, it's not very nice. I think you had one more question, Sandra. Our next guest, Heather's here as well.
Oh, great. I just had one more question, Bill, because this is, on the top of my mind because I am a single mom. Anything about my love life? Anyone coming in anytime soon? Have I met and had the love of my life? Like any direction there?
It shows as though there have been 3 opportunities for grand romances. So I suspect that maybe 2 of them have already come and gone. And it shows as though there is the possibility of another romance connected to the new venture. And I don't think you've met this person as yet.
Okay.
It's also showing me as though somehow, some way, he has a connection to the medical field.
A doctor. That'd be nice.
Well, I didn't say
healer.
doctor. I didn't say doctor.
I said doctor. I said it.
So I'm going to put that out there as a possibility for you.
Okay. Better than a big fat no, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
No, there's another one coming.
Okay.
Is she blocking them?
No, I think that you're Sandra, if I'm correct, you're in the process of really gaining momentum and channeling wonderful creative energy into this project, and that's going to also have a side benefit of attracting around you a different caliber of talents and a different caliber of personalities.
That makes a lot of sense.
So I think that as part of that circle, there's going to be some chemistry with a gentleman.
Oh, okay.
Tall, dark, and handsome.
Oh, I like that. Could his
Yeah.
name be William Stillman? No, I'm just kidding.
I don't think so.
He's tall, dark, and handsome.
He is. Yes. Okay, well, we're going to be going to break very shortly. Heather, welcome.
Hi. Thank you.
I'm not going to do the big intro on you right now because we are going to break, and I want Bill to give you a reading before we do that. How's that?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, everybody, we are about to go to break. Please don't go away. Don't leave. Keep listening. We're coming right back.
Heck no. We're just getting warmed up. Frankie Sense and More will be right back after we pay the bills.
If you could live your life truly standing in a place of peace, joy, and abundance, wouldn't that make your heart soar? Now you can, with Lessons in Joyful Living, with your host, Kimberly Rinaldi, Mondays at noon Central. Kimberly Rinaldi, having created a highly successful coaching practice, now teaches Lessons in Joyful Living. She believes in empowering others and that through it, you have the ability to break through any and all barriers, thus allowing you to reach your greatest potential and joyfully step into your life's purpose. What used to take weeks, months, or even years, she can now teach you in a matter of hours with her programs. For more on Kim and her show, go to her website, KimberlyRinaldi.com. That's RINALDI.com. Then join us for Lessons in Joyful Living with your host, Kimberly Rinaldi.
It's the Fitness Minute with fitness expert Annette Hammond.
Low-fat foods can be healthy or unhealthy, depending on what you choose to eat. Whole foods like vegetables, fruit, beans, rice, and potatoes are all low-fat and good for you. Processed low-fat foods are a different story. Eat this, not that, says that the term low-fat is synonymous with loaded with salt and cheap carbohydrates. Many times when the fat is taken out, it is replaced by unhealthy ingredients that are not good for you. The New England Journal of Medicine found that over a 2-year span, people on low-carb diets lost 62% more body weight than those on low-fat diets. It's always important to keep your fats low while choosing good, healthy foods to eat. For the Fitness Minute, I'm Annette Hammond. If you're a fan of Fitness Minute, like us on Facebook at Fitness Minute with Annette Hammond.
And we're back. We're back with Bill and Sandra, and Heather's here, and I'm here, and Karina's here, and you're here too. I'm really happy that you are. Thanks for sticking around. Bill, meet Heather Crosse.
Hi, Heather.
Hi, Bill. How are you?
Oh, I'm having a good time. Thank you. It's been a lot of fun.
It does sound fun.
So what's going to work best for me is if you have a specific question that I can focus in on for you.
Okay, that's no problem. Career. I have a new year and a lot of new opportunities with my music career, so that'd probably be a good thing to talk about.
Okay, let's see. There's a male figure in spirit around you that has also been musical.
Yes.
Do you know who that might be? But they're showing me the phrase musical comedy also. So I'm assuming this is someone who would have had a great sense of humor, or possibly incorporated some humor into their performance.
Actually, I think you're. Well, that could be someone that I just lost. My a mentor, actually. He was
that would be like a father figure to you?
Him our comic relief in the band, and he started my band, and definitely is always riding on my shoulder, helping me with my life.
Yeah,
so
it's funny because he's kind of making a joke out of being an angel, and he's showing me these little cartoon wings that are flapping.
That sounds like him. That's Greg Batterton.
Yeah, and I don't know. He's making me smell beer, so I don't know if he enjoyed just having a good time, socializing.
Well, that's nice to know. I figured he wouldn't be having fun. Thank you.
Yes,
Wow.
and he is. This is really curious because he shows as though he's passed within a year or less.
Yes, just. A few months ago. 2 months ago.
That's really interesting because it usually takes a good 3 to 6 months for a spirit to get acclimated and oriented before they start opening up to communicate. But he also suggests that he's like a big brother or an older brother or a father figure.
Yes, I would say that.
Perfect. And he's saying, go with your gut. Do you sing, actually, or do you just play an instrument?
Yes, I sing. I'm
Thank you.
a singing
bass
player, and I lead a band because of him. I used to just back other people, and he shoved me up to the front. And so, yeah, that's why I think that it's him. I believe this. Yeah.
Thank you. Because what he's saying is go with your gut and sing from your heart. And that's why I asked if you were a singer. But you're going to – I don't know if he really liked his beer. He says it's lager. But I think that you're going to smell that, especially very late at night. He shows me as though you're at your creative peak very late at night.
Yes.
Like early morning hours. And that's going to be the time when he says, ooh, the witching hour. He's making the joke out of it. And he says that's going to be the time at which he is going to be poised to impress inspiration within you.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
All right. Very nice.
Well, you know what? I have to get to Heather, so you guys stick around for a moment. Let me talk to Heather, and let's play her music, and because she has a debut album that is called Groovin at the Crosse Roads. It just came out in September. Heather is a singer. She's a songwriter. She's a bass player, and she is just an amazing musician. Now, there was I don't know if you've heard of Bob DiPietro. Bob's a songwriter, and Bob, he's Bob DiPietro, sorry, and he's always saying, I wasn't born in the South, but I got there as quick as I could. Now, you were born in Louisiana, and you shuffled your way to Clarksdale, Mississippi, where home of the blues.
Yes.
What called you to Clarksdale?
The blues. I lived in Hot Springs, Arkansas for 16 years. That's where I started performing, in bands and clubs, and I backed an old bluesman there and played bass for him, and he had played in Detroit in the 70s. He wasn't very famous, but he passed away, and I had previously fallen in love with blues music when another friend brought me to Clarksdale, Mississippi for their annual blues fest. And so I fell in love with the place when I was 18 years old. And it took me, I think I was actually in my 30s. Yeah, I was in my early 30s when I actually made it to Clarksdale. I moved here to play the blues. There wasn't really a lot of blues in Hot Springs where I cut my teeth playing. So I had to, I got a job with a man named Super Chicken, who is kind of famous. He's our famous guy from around here. And I was playing bass for him for about 4 years.
Wow.
And going through a divorce and whatever. And yeah, so I started a new life, came here, and it really worked out for me.
You played a lot at Ground Zero. Now, that's Morgan Freeman's club.
Yes, I see him all the time.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
What's
amazing.
he like?
First time, he's very, very nice, and he's funny. He's been at one of my Halloween gigs and made me laugh.
I'm a drummer, and you're a bass player.
Yay.
And, we're the groove section of the band. But usually the bass players are, they're really laid back, and they're a little bit off-center. Are you off-center?
Definitely.
Yeah?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even to the point of, I'm the lead singer and front person, and I actually don't stand center stage. I stand off center. So I can see the drummer.
Like a bass player.
I would say that. Yeah, I'm such a bass player.
That's very funny. We're gonna hear. Stick around, everybody. We're gonna hear a little bit from her track. It's called "Walkin' in Their Shoes," and I imagine that this is a song that you wrote based on the greats that you listen to. Is that right?
It's actually about the people that personally touch my life.
Okay.
There's the mentor that I just mentioned. My first blues guy, his name is St. Thomas Jenkins, and you'll hear his name. St. T is what I call him in the song.
Okay.
But I've lost several mentors, including my father. So yeah, it was my tribute song to them. And in the bass line, so you'll recognize the bass line's actually one of the first bass lines that I ever learned from old St. T.
Oh, neat. Okay, well, I'm apologizing in advance because I can't play the whole thing because we're kind of run out of time and I want to get back and talk to you. But we will play, a good half of it and we'll come back. Everybody stick around. Here we go.
Thank you.
Playing and doing my thing. Can you hear the voices and what they sang? That's my mentors, now long gone. Handed me the music, I'm gonna pass it on. My soul to sing and my fingers what to do. Through the days and nights, taught me all they knew. Oh, St. T and them, they helped me find my blues. I spend my life walking in their shoes. Felt the music, he knew I had to play. He had his time here, was soon on his way. Left me feeling different with an old guitar. Left the seed of music and desire to travel far.
That's a fabulous song. You're a great singer, a great bass player.
Oh, thank you.
It must be very rewarding being able to work at what you love.
Yes, it is. And it has been quite a journey to get here.
I believe it. Who were some of your influences?
Well, I mean, I first kind of cut my teeth listening to old Muddy Waters cassettes. So
Sure.
my favorite bass player of Muddy Waters is Calvin Fuzz Jones. And I got to meet him and play with Willie Big Eyes, the drummer, and Sophomore Dolan, the guitar player, years ago, before he passed. I did get to meet him and play with all those guys. It was really very, very much a dream come true. But, I like James Jamerson also. I don't really have most of my influences were people that didn't even play bass in my personal life.
Right.
So, yeah, I had some Louisiana people and then my Arkansas people, and then I moved to Mississippi. So I've got a very long thank you note in my CD that covers
that's
my entire
wonderful.
life.
Heather, Groovin at the Crosse Roads. I love how you use your last name there. Very good.
Thanks for getting that.
Yeah, I got that.
Someone else didn't.
I want to make sure that folks can find you and they can also find Bill. So tell us where we can buy your CD, Groovin at the Crosse Roads.
Okay, you can go to heathercrosse.com, and you just have to remember my name, Crosse has an E on the end of it, heathercrosse.com. That will tell you everything you need to know.
And if you want to find Bill, you can go to www.williamstillman.com. Do you want to give out your email, Bill, or should they just go to your website?
Yeah, people can just find me at my website, williamstillman.com. Also, if they click on the Facebook link, there's an original inspirational quote that goes up every morning that I think might be a nice way for people to start their day.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah. You've heard some amazing readings from Bill today. You know, Connie was very happy. Sandra, you were very happy with your reading. Heather, I'm sure that you were as well. We've heard wonderful music from Heather. Unfortunately, we didn't get enough time with her. We were looking for you.
I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. That's okay. They got a really good feel for who you are and what you do, and that's pretty exciting. We've only got a minute left in the show, so I'm going to first of all, I'm going to thank my guest, all of you. Thank you so very much for being here. I'm going to thank you, the listeners, for tuning in. And if you could please go to toginet.com/show/FrankieCents and more. I'm going to put that link up for Madaya so that you can sign the petition and help get those kids the food that they need and lift that siege. So that's a very important thing to do today as well. Any last words, anybody? Sandra?
You're the best, Frankie. You just bring so much light into my life. We're all better having known you.
That's the nicest thing you could say. Thank you so much. And thank you for Karina for being here and getting these guests on for us and making it my job a lot easier. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me on your show, Frank. At a ball.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure, everybody. Have yourself a wonderful day or night wherever you are in the world, and we will be seeing you again next week. Take care, everybody. Bye now.
Siege on the beat. Hit Rash Production.